The simple way to say is, enjoy your life, isn't it? But then that means you're born and you know you're gonna die, so it's in your hand. Whatever you have, just enjoy it. This is one of the most people's idea. Like sometimes I think like that. Sometimes you think of it like this. So Shantideva is saying, so if you're like, when I was traveling from Dharamsala to Delhi, and then I was driving to my car, and then I was thinking a little bit about impermanent and permanent, and especially death. Because in India, in Israel, the traffic rules are good, right? In India, it's quite dangerous. They do lots of overtaking. And recently, Ling Rinpoche came here. He had an accident. And so I almost got in an accident. Not this time. So in India, we should be ready for an accident. So I was thinking, I felt like I was going on the road and something hits my car and I the end of me, then what, right? Then I felt like, well, I couldn't go to Israel. And then I couldn't meet all these beautiful people. Here you are. And then the most important is the message that I want to give, and we want to share our knowledge. So then I felt like, well, I'm not having this so much concern about that because maybe I had nothing to lose. What I mean by nothing to lose is, for His Holiness the Dalai Lama, recently I invited him to Spiti. So, and he said, I will come to Spiti. This Spiti is my birthplace. It's up in the Himalaya, north side of India. And maybe some of you have been to Spiti. Yeah, Spiti? Oh yeah, lot, huh? See? Okay, so you know the road. Forget about it. You are welcome, but you have to sacrifice a little bit. So I invited him, and he said, okay, can you arrange the helicopter? And I said, oh sure, I will talk with the government, and then sure we will do that. And then His Holiness said, the Himachal government is quite poor. They don't have their own helicopter. The government does not have. The private company does have. But then His Holiness said, last time I came to Spiti, that helicopter wasn't so good. It's a bad condition. So, yeah. Recently he went to, like that time, he said recently, so now it's like 3-4 years ago. So he was invited in some part of India, Arunachal Pradesh. So that time, that helicopter, and the bad weather and the helicopter situation, so he got scared. So then he said, when the situation looks quite difficult at times, then he looked at his attendant and then he said, I feel very pity on you guys. You served me very well, but you all didn't do practice very well, and you all are not really ready now. for me, I have spent my whole life doing something beneficial for life, and now I feel like even I die, now it's time. But for you people, I feel very pity. So during the time, the helicopter situation is not very good. So then, once I hear this from His Holiness, I thought, His Holiness said, he has done something, and now there's not much regret there. But now, for an example, for like me, I have done nothing much. I do have a title over Rinpoche with the kindness, from the kindness of His Holiness and my past life. But this is my new chapter, my beginning chapter. I haven't done anything in this world. And I do have this little bit intelligence or studies that I have done. I have never used it. Then I feel like, well, if something happened in the road, the most sadness thing will be, I have never used my wisdom well. So then I feel, okay, right now I'm not ready yet. So this means we should be very, also very concerned about our health. And when you're young, you feel like stay very strong, and whatever you do, I can do it. But then, young generation, we use our life in a very, what we call it, misuse, right? It's misused. So right now we might not experience it now, but in future, in elders they said, oh, when I was young, I did so many naughty things, I have lots of regrets. So we can learn from that, right? So the most important part is, in here he's saying that when the death comes, Shandideva said, one of his textbooks say, death is coming, actually, because time is going, right? So this is the logic. Time, we cannot stop time. It is coming. We have to face it. We know it. But then the question is, what are you going to do before it? One time I asked my teacher, Genjasula. So how many people do you know Genjasula? Okay. So I'm a student of Genjasula, and you are a student of Genjasula. Okay. So Genjasula as a student is one of my teachers. So I asked my teacher, Buddhists believe that Buddha has overcome death. But then he isn't with us these days. And I asked him if he has a power to live long, then why isn't he with us? And he said, oh, this is a really difficult question. And then we talked for a long, and then he said, one of the best lessons that we can get from Buddha dying, the message we get is, he's born, he's dead, between these is the most important. So every day I think about this. So it helps me, because this is the pure message. We have his teachings, Buddha's teachings. We have Krishna's teachings. We have all the teachings, but we are not doing it right. So the message we should get very clear about before dying is something what we can do before it. So once after it, like His Holiness, he said, the rest of my life I did lots of positive things and beneficial things. I'm ready. So no regrets, right? So this is the part where Shantideva talks about, think about, little bit about impermanent and death. So I can skip this part. So then he talks about, even you don't believe in it will be a little bit interesting if you get little bit know about past and future life. But this is not an important part, but it's interesting, because every day I have to answer this question, and sometimes I'm fed up of these questions. So there are so many what we call it, proofs that there are past lives, and because like for if you go on YouTube and search on Ghost in My Child, if you watch that documentary, the people who made this, they're not Buddhist, they're not Hindu, they don't believe in it. But that's why the title of the documentary is Ghost in My Child.
Ghost in My Child?
Ghost in My Child. So it's interesting. So then I think there are 3 children. They share the 3 children experience of their remembering past life. And then one very interesting story, one of the child. So he remembers he owns a car in a past life, and he remembers the car's license plate. It's a license plate. He remembers that. Or maybe he's really attached to his car. So this is it. Now, if we talk about logic, then maybe one time His Holiness asked me, do I believe in past and future life? Then I should be very honest to my teacher, right, Guru? So I said, it's very difficult to answer.
So I check the bed.
Okay, sure.
Okay.
Okay? Oh, there you go. So same question that His Holiness asked one scholar, one Mongolian scholar. We call it Kishi, the title. So that monk was very straightforward, and he said, it's really hard to answer, but then I feel like if there is past a future life, I will be more comfortable, because what I have learned and practice. So I want to continue in my next life. If this is only this life, I feel a little bit of a waste of my life. So something like that. We do so many negative things because we don't think much about what I don't care, I don't believe. So this will be some obstacle to think. If you don't think, then you might, what do we call it, bring up more negative actions. So then, Gyendapsula, my teacher, and our teacher. So, and then there's one famous teacher in Dharamsala, Geshe Tenpel-san. You know him, right? He's interesting, very interesting teacher. So they had a very big discussion about whether there is past life and future life. That proves that even those great scholars are still debating. That means there's a doubt. And we didn't reach the final answer, but still we are researching on it. We're studying on it. So, those two scholars, my teacher and then Geshe Tenpel-san, they talked and then they felt like whatever we discussed is not really helping. So now we should use another method, whether there is past and future life. So what happened, how did they check up is very interesting. So they meet in Nepal, and then in Nepal there is one medium. So they heard that if you know medium, right? So that if some request that medium, whatever you want to be heard, like if you want this medium and got trance in someone that you are asking for a special deity, so that lady will say that I am the one, I am this, I am that. So there's one Tibetan deity named called Tsirima. So both my teacher and Geshe did some prayers, because they now believe in the consciousness of the Tsirima is there. So they requested, before going to the medium, they did some pujas or rituals, and they request, tomorrow is a big day for us. We'll check whether there's past or future life. And then if now we are doing some offerings to Tsirima, the oracle, So tomorrow, if the medium says, I'm Shrima, and you should do this and that, then we believe in past and future life, because we believe the continuous of consciousness. And then, if that oracle, that medium says something else, then we put that on a question mark, whether there is a past and future life. It's a big bet, I think. Then, next day, they went to the oracle, the medium, and then she got tranced, and then they asked, who are you? And her reply was, I'm Tsengma. What you are asking for, ask. So they are very happy with the answer. So this, I'm not saying this is the best solution to check whether there is a past and future life, but this is one method. That makes my teacher and his friend Tsenzhab happy. So I'm always a little bit meditating on the consciousness. And consciousness is sometimes very funny because we have negative thoughts, positive thoughts. What color is our consciousness? And then answer is not like black and white. And is it one thing that sometimes it becomes positive, sometimes it becomes negative? So there are big debate. This kind of debate is not recent debate. It was debating in the Nalanda, in the 7th century, the great masters of Nalanda. They were debating on this. It's fun because it's about us actually, right? It's not about them. It's all about us. So, and I always think like the battery, he got changed, right? You change it. This is not a rechargeable battery. You throw it, right?
We try to recycle.
Recycle it. This is a different type of throwing it, right? But if it is rechargeable, then you don't throw it. You just keep it. And you just mark it and then recharge it, use it. So this is the same question to us, whether are we chargeable or throwable, just recycle it. So then, and scientists, we believe in science. And this is when advertisement says this is very good and this is very good for your body, and then everyone will rush towards it, and they don't do so much research on it. And then later on, after maybe 2 or 3 years later, then there will be another doctor saying, oh, this is not good for your body. So we do have a kind of gifted mind to research about it. So it is interesting. I don't mean it's a really difficult subject that to believe in the past and future life or not, but it's interesting to think that way. And then people come to me in Spiti and Dharamsala. Here, I just came, so there's no question. So ultimately there is a question: do you remember your past life? And then My answer is no. That no doesn't mean there's no past life. So I'm continuation. Consider continuation of yesterday me. But I can remember what this time, this minute, yesterday what I was doing. So it's a really difficult question, but it's really interesting too. So the most many people ask me about you remember past life or not, and I don't need to remember everything or what my past life did. What I want to know about my past life is only one thing. He has such a devotion to His Holiness the Dalai Lama. So I really want to know that. This is the quality I want to know. But this now quality, so many great master has told, the faith towards your God or teacher is something that you need to know, and what he has described, the teachings. You remember his teaching, and then if it is like you try to digest it, and then you feel it's helping, then automatically there's a connection between you and your teacher, you and your God. So this is something I want to remember from past life, but this I can't remember much. So the thing is, whether remember it or not, same commitment I do have from my past life. That makes me comfortable to sit on his chair and do his job. So I don't take very important subject, past and future life, but sometimes it is not relevant or this is exact like this, but sometimes for our own good practice, it becomes quite important. So look for a devotion. If you have a very strong devotion towards your God, His Holiness one time told he is a very good friend, priest. So when they are talking, and then they talked about the kindness of God, and then when he talked about God, then automatically a tear came out from his eyes, and then he said, the kindness of the God, it's not what's that? Expressible? Yeah, he can express it, right? So this is kind of devotion. So what does that devotion do? This is the most important question. So once you are devoted, so you see some qualities in him or her. So you want to follow that. And he or she is the role model of yours. That's the benefit. So ultimately, if you want to do something bad, then you will, if you really admire your parents, you will say, oh, I won't do it. My parents, if my parents know it, they will become very sad, and I don't want to upset my parents. Same thing here. When we talk about 10 negative actions, what do we call it? Yeah? 10 non-virtues. We don't do everything 10 virtues. Mostly we are doing it. But then the most scary part is